Hi, it's Alane Freund here with my friend and colleague, Julie Cusmariu, and we are talking about, well, I think this is part two, and we're talking about raising highly sensitive children and that E in DOES, that emotionally reactive and strong empathy. I mean, I think for parents didn't sign up to raise these children. Sometimes the E is the big shocker.
Mm.
You know, the one that maybe pushes us to our edge the most. And so I think, and really, Julie, you're the one who just suggested this topic of emotions.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an intuitive, and you've been podcasting on so many things, but a lot on parenting for all these years. And I'm sure you hear about it from moms all the time about these children. In fact, there's a Instagram channel that I follow that somebody said that they get questions every week, several questions every week about meltdowns in toddlers. I had to laugh because my kid turned 21 this week. So, but
Congrats.
A 21-year-old highly sensitive child still has meltdowns.
Wow.
I don't know.
We need to know that.
I have meltdowns.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's something that challenges us, and it's also a beautiful thing about our children.
Yeah, I agree. My kids I have two boys, they're 10 and 8. And I said this to you before, and I say it to, to anybody I'm talking about my kids, is they're my greatest teachers. Like, they're these gifts that keep on giving and keep me, going to therapy, because I'm learning about them and I'm learning about myself through them, and it points me back to me and my own work and things that I need to do to be better, better parent, better person.
I mean, as highly sensitive people, we have to reframe our own childhoods and heal from all the traumas. And it is so helpful, and everything that comes up in the children really helps us to, we should do this again, just on boys. Let's have some conversations at some point about raising boys, and especially boys that are highly sensitive. And I think I was telling you too before that every workshop I get a question about, what's that emotional leadership thing? And I think if you have, let's just remind folks that if you have sensory processing sensitivity, that's the scientific name for the trait that highly sensitive people and highly sensitive children have. There's actually a part of your brain that becomes more active and reactive in the presence of emotional content. And it's stronger with positive stuff. So one of the studies was that they showed highly sensitive people pictures of their loved ones, or pictures of cute animals, or a child with a birthday cake, things like that. And their brain just went off the charts, and it was stronger than when they showed them pictures of sad things. Their brain was much more active with sad things than the 80% who are not highly sensitive, but it was even more reactive and active with positive things. So I think when you're parenting and your child's having strong feelings about the negative things and the hard things, that can overshadow all the positive stuff. I digress.
I'm laughing because we were watching. Do you want to say something?
No, okay. Go, please.
I don't know, watching some program or something on a screen, since we've been doing more of that lately. Just like a cute little animal or a baby, and my boys will have this beautiful reaction. I'm like, oh, you get what I'm feeling, and it's positive, and there's a positive emotional response. And it's just to ease any tension, that might've happened 2 minutes ago. It's within that moment, it's everything just melts away,
I mean, and that is such a beautiful piece of emotional leadership and emotional, it's just that you can go like a baby. I love the way babies, up, down, all around. They're just so fluid. And I think sensitive children can also be so much more fluid, even when they're not babies any longer. And I think part of emotional leadership is that everyone who sees that sweet little thing can have that experience of it. It's just that the sensitive children model it for us. and they do help us, get back on the ground, as we were talking about in our previous video,
Yeah.
So when's the reactivity a problem?
How many times a day, you mean? When is it a problem? Well, I could speak from my experience is understanding what it's about. Like, if I'm not going to be reactive to the reactivity, then I'm better off as a parent. But like understanding what is the reactivity and why, and where's it coming from. So I think it's a problem if I don't know how to deal with it and I don't know where it's coming from, and I keep tripping up. But I mean, I could just speak to it more on that scale. I can get more specific, but curious what your thoughts are.
I'm wondering, I guess, I work with tons of families with sensitive children and teens. And I think I've noticed over the years that really it's almost predictable. Like there are certain things that cause or lead sensitive children to become more easily over aroused, which is when emotional reactivity is sort of hard for the class, the teacher, the peers, the parents, the society, and I feel like sleep is a huge one when they're overtired or just trying to do school all day. I think it's really hard for sensitive children, and that's overtired. And I got to tell you, for those of you who have children from like 8 to, we say adolescence goes till 30 now. Science.
Really?
Sorry, since yours are 10 and 8. You're not even
just
all the
entering
way, the way through.
Really? Adolescence is till 30?
Yes, because young adulthood, if you think of how our lifespans have expanded so much,
right?
It makes sense. But also young adulthood is so challenging that it remains, the brain's not finished growing until around 25, and all developmental milestones are plus or minus a year. So right there, you just don't even have the brain. So then, like after 25, it does get a lot easier, but they're still settling. There's the average number of jobs and households that young adults have. It's exponential. Wow. You don't really settle into adulthood until after your Saturn return. To bring astrology into it a little bit. So, but where are we going? Oh, tired all day at school. I forget where I was going with
You were saying, for those of you who have children who are just entering.
Oh, it's not helpful to tell them they're tired.
Right.
I just want to say, if your children are younger, and you can say, seems like it's time for a nap, or it'd be really better to go to bed earlier. You can't do it that way. You have to help them design a life that will get them enough rest. But what else besides a day at school is kind of predictive of emotional reactivity? Not enough sleep and rest is predictive. Do you have?
Sorry to interrupt you. I do find the after school moment, and those who are listening might relate, or after daycare or after kindergarten or pre-K. For me, that was a huge learning curve to like understand, what do I do with all this emotion? What's it about? Is it about me? Is it about what happened at school? Like just understanding all of that and like giving them the space to process and unwind. Like that took me a while to figure that one out, because so much emotion every time. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to get when I pick them up.
Right. You just have no idea. You can be pretty sure that they're not going to be an optimal level of arousal.
Right.
I'll never forget, in 9th grade, we sent our child not to the local school. So we had to drive him to and from school. And I would pick him up from school, and maybe just a couple weeks into 9th grade, even every day he'd get in school and I'd say, how was school? What happened today? And finally, not too far into it, he said, I'm happy to tell you, I just can't talk about it right now. Like, just leave me alone. Wow. How lovely to have a 14-year-old, highly sensitive child who can say, I can't talk about this right now. Wow. And it was such a moment for me. I'm like, no, duh.
And a deep exhale.
Yeah. And it's like you get home from a busy day at work yourself, and your spouse wants to know how work was. And you're like, oh, please just don't talk to me. My God, I'm exhausted.
Yes.
So tiredness is a big one. I think sometimes the screens, they activate the children's brains in a really in a really provocative way. And, highly sensitive people's brains don't start resting until after they've already been resting for a really long time. They keep working even when at rest. That's a study that came out in the last couple of years. And I think I could have told you that was true because I often lay awake thinking all night or much of the night or wake up at 2 and start thinking. And, but it's documented now that it's actually true. And so, when they're on the screens and their brains get activated, then it takes them even longer to come down. And so that can contribute to the reactivity. So like trying to have a family dinner where everybody's sitting politely around the table.
And
after all these things, forget it.
Food, right? Having food, not having food.
Oh gosh.
Being energized, being depleted. Is it the right food? Is it not the right food?
I mean, you're making me feel emotionally reactive.
Yeah.
Just as a mom, having to think about all those things. I was famous for food, for feeding my sensitive boy all through his childhood. Sometimes he would just eat a ton and sometimes he'd barely eat anything. It was just kind of crazy. Well, there's lots of reasons that the children can become emotionally reactive. And I think it's really good that we talk about. I'd love to see in the comments, wherever you see this video, if you could tell us what are the reasons that your sensitive children become overreactive or emotionally reactive, and what do you do to prevent it? And prevention is the key. So let's call it a wrap right there, and we'll see you in another video.